right, so I'm currently on the phone with Jarvis. He's another musician that reached out about the interview series. So I'm going to go ahead and give him the chance to introduce himself.
What's up, man? How you doing? Yeah, my name is Jarvis. I'm a drummer and keyboardist. He's with the instruments I double in, but I also do a lot of musical directing. I run playback, and I'm also a band tech for a few artists as well. So it's a few wide variety of things that I do.
Excellent. So why don't you give me some detail about when you first encountered music and what about it took power over you and made you want to pursue a life in it.
Yeah, music is really the only thing that's ever made real sense to me besides fitness. And music obviously came much earlier than fitness in my life, but essentially I grew up listening to a bunch of soul stuff. My dad loved James Brown, that kind of stuff. So I was always listening to music. And then, man, my oldest brother was in high school at the time, and we're 16 years apart. And I remember grabbing his drumsticks and I was like putting beats together instantly. And they were like, yo, this little kid knows what he's doing. He's better than you. So, yeah, it's kind of all just made sense at that time. And then from that point forward, man, just kept it pushing.
Okay, so it sounds like it came, pretty naturally and organic to you. Did you ever pursue any sort of lessons, whether it be like private lessons or, concert band and choir? What was kind of your exploration of really kind of learning the instrument?
Oh, yeah, for sure. Definitely fifth grade band all the way up till high school, and then went to Berkeley for a semester and a half. And then after that, yeah, it was just kept it pushing. So, yeah, I always studied. I still study till this day. Like, all my friends are great musicians, so we'll get together and actually work through ideas. So even now, I'm studying.
Excellent. So tell me a bit about kind of, how you envisioned the type of band that you wanted to get into. Since you have such a long history and, getting comfortable with the instrument, I imagine along the way you kind of envisioned what your ideal situation would be.
Cool. It varied so much. Yeah, because out of college, I really had no real direction. I actually stopped playing for about 3 years and pursued a fitness career. But then getting back from that, I did like the corporate wedding band thing. And I thought, oh, as long as I'm making six figures a year, I'll be happy. And then realizing that I hated the conditions and all that stuff, I was like, all right, you know what? Maybe I want to go more of a solo. I'll be like a hired gun. And that was all cool too. But then I was like, well, you can only go so far where I'm from, which is from Delaware. With like a 2 weeks notice, I was like, I'm out of here, and moved across the country to LA.
Sure.
So yeah, from there, but I mean, getting out here, it's like, you don't make as much money as you were doing like a corporate wedding gig out of the gate. So this is a whole different beast though. I never really I had a vision, but those visions always change once you get there and you see what you're really walking into. But yeah, at this point, it's just make money and not work for anybody if you can.
Sure, be your own boss and get paid
Absolutely.
with music. That's definitely the goal. So give me some more information about the types of bands that you worked in to kind of get you where you are now.
Sure. Jazz band, concert band, symphonic band, small ensembles, large ensembles. Did a lot of musicals, did a ton of that kind of stuff. Led a big band for a long time, and then realized I didn't want to live in Europe. So I'm going to have to transition into like the pop and more secular world. Huge learning curve. However, yeah, that's kind of the trickle down effect. And then when I did the corporate wedding stuff, it was cool. I mean, you're just playing covers and all that jazz. So it's, but there's no real requirements to nail it. As long as people are drinking, you're good.
Sure. It sounds like a good chunk of the experience that you have is based mainly on, the event circuit and then the music direction side of it. How many bands would you say are more of like the traditional pop rock lineup where, you're the drummer supporting a couple guitarists and a vocal person?
Majority of my projects are that.
Okay. So tell me a bit about those.
Specifically like the artist or what the experience working with the band?
Well, how many of, those pop rock type scenarios did you go through before you kind of realized that, you had to, pick up your life and move across the country kind of thing?
That is actually here. When I was back home was more of the jazz stuff. And that was the stuff where I was like, you know what, I don't want to live in Europe. Jazz is really not thriving in the States. And then when I got out here, I transitioned to the pop, rock, R&B world. And man, that was a huge learning curve.
Okay, so that's what I thought, but I was a little bit confused on the timeline of how that all lined up.
Sure, sorry.
So perfect. So tell me a bit about the projects that you're working on now. Is it just one band that you're in, or are there a various array of projects that you're working with?
Yeah, various projects, all the way from being a musical director, playing drums, running playback, and teching for artists as well. Playing wise, a ton of things going on. Any like specific question attached to those?
Well, so I guess what I'm looking for is what are the projects that stand out to you that you feel most connected to, that you want to see succeed?
Oh man, I'm working with an artist right now. Her name is Peyton Shea, and she's great to work for, great to work with, and the way her professionalism, her drive, and work ethic on top of her talent is just super inspiring. And right now it's just a duo. It's myself on drums, running playback, and arranging, doing all that stuff, and then a guitarist as well. So him and I are kind of knocking the show out, which is really cool. And then she comes in and just wrecks shop. It's super fun.
Is that the only project you have going on, or anything else?
No, I got Ali Burke right now, kind of a similar situation. I have Rayvon Owen. He is one of the former American Idol contestants. Great guy to work for. They kind of come in like the brand ambassador for the LGBTQ plus community, which has really been nice. And then I'm running a tech work for sometimes Kelly Rowland. I just finished Muddy Long and doing a couple of those things. So yeah, a lot of stuff going on.
So would you say that you're kind of interested in being like a live touring musician and not necessarily sticking to one particular lineup? Are you just looking for work where you can get it, kind of thing?
Yeah, I really enjoy the hired gun process. I tried the band aspect, but you have to deal with a lot of personalities and conflicts and schedules and all that stuff. And it can definitely impact your growth. And I hated the responsibility that someone else could come in and dictate my success. So the hired gun route is strictly on me being professional, practicing, making my own relationships, keeping those relationships, networking, and doing everything on my own. Scary, but I would rather at the end of the day say, okay, I failed because of me. So
interesting. That's a unique way to look at it. How competitive would you say that that hired gun process is? In LA, I would imagine that it's pretty difficult.
Yeah, a big part of it I always thought was the playing. And it definitely is a thing, right? You need to be able to hear music well. You need to be able to retain it well. You need to be able to play it well. And you need to be able to do it quickly so people don't have to talk to you. So obviously that aspect is real. The biggest part is just being a good person, being likable, being able to understand what your job description is and not try to overstep boundaries. Hygiene's a big part of it. Understanding that, you got to be able to hang out with people, because the longest time you're going to be behind your instrument is rehearsals. After that, your show is only going to be from anywhere from a half an hour, and if you're working with an A-list celebrity, an hour and a half. After that, that's 22 and a half hours you got to hang out with people. So you got to just remember that that's really the most important part. So it's hard, but once you realize that it's about being more likable and cool, it becomes a lot easier.
So this is kind of a bit of a tangent question, but since you made a point of specifying hygiene, does that tie into your interest in fitness as well? Is there a connection there?
No, they're not correlated at all. Fitness is just for my sanity, to be honest.
I was just curious.
Yeah, no, hygiene is just important because you're living with people on the road. So
yeah,
can't be that guy.
Yep. I know exactly where you're coming from. So tell me a bit about where you want to see yourself go. What do you see yourself in, 5-10 years going down that hired gun pathway?
Sure. Specifically with Hired Gun, I'll be off the road for sure. I have no desire to keep touring past like another 6 years. Unless I get to that point where I'm able to do like award shows and I'm a lot more, I can be more choosy, which would be great. However, I'm quickly realizing there's not too many of us that are able to retire just being a hired gun. So I've transitioned a lot of things to being online content and that sort of realm to bring another revenue. So eventually I'll be able to transition out smoothly and be okay from there.
So you would kind of say that your kind of long-term goal is to move into more of like a content creation kind of platform.
Absolutely.
Okay. So based on that, do you think that you'll do like session work, or do you kind of think you'll move more into the, selling a personality type thing?
I would say more being a brand myself, and that could just vary between speaking at events. I just launched December 2nd, the new brand of Musicians Help, which is just a platform for musicians to all come in we could talk about various topics. Um, and then, yeah, I'm technically an internet personality now. The brand is called Drumming with Jarvis. We just crossed the 45K mark on YouTube. And essentially, we're just talking about different things in music and how to hear different things and sounds and that's point. So definitely transition out of that.
Yeah, that's very cool. And it's definitely one of those pathways that, with the way that the current industry is, that has been recently opened up, especially with the way that like internet collaborations are happening more and more frequently.
Absolutely.
So why don't you share a couple of your favorite memories that have happened to you in the period of time and the breath that you've been working in music? Things that have had an impact you or keep you motivated.
Cool. Um, Man, that's so tough. I think the moments when that are most impactful are the moments. Wow, this is gonna sound bad, but honest. Yeah, I think the coolest moments are when your friends end up or your idols become your friends. Those are like when you grow up watching certain faces and doing that kind of stuff, and then all of a sudden you realize you're like, okay, I'm walking on stage to perform with them, or they're like, hey, I'm actually performing here. Why don't you guys pull up? We'll get you guys passes. I think it's just the relationship aspect of it is the more iconic thing besides the gig.
Sure. I don't think that sounds bad. I think people should be proud of their accomplishments.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. Well, so you mentioned your YouTube channel. Where can people find you and take a listen to you and follow you?
Absolutely. If you're on YouTube, you can type in Drumming with Jarvis. You'll find me. I'm the first thing that pops up. And if you're looking for a playing schedule or any artists I'll be with, my website is www.jarvisjebbarnes.com. Check me out. Always shoot me a DM. Always here to help in any way I possibly can. And I'm all for it.
Awesome. So I always like to give the person I'm interviewing the opportunity to put out their last words. So just a message you feel you resonate with that you want to put out there.
Oh, I would just say be true to yourself in the sense of never negotiate your boundaries or your morals and never get attached to your ideas because they're just thoughts.